Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. Presented by Carolina Lightweights. Come get with us. When the action begins in the studio, our referees for tonight's event are Elgato Azul and Carolina Real Streamers. For the viewers in attendance and Facebook and YouTube users around the world, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Live from the Elgato Azul TV studio in Louisville, Texas, it's time! What's up, slime lovers? My name is Chris, a.k.a. Elgato Azul. My partner in slime, Mr. Jamie Dunn, Carolina Lightweights.
What's up? What's up with it, everybody?
Welcome to the Slime Show, baby.
Man, I was ready for this one, Chris.
Yeah, it should be a good show. We're going to do a Q&A and just kind of roll with what people want to talk about tonight. We've had some epic fishing lately. I didn't get to fish last weekend. It was Jackson's 9th birthday. So,
heck yeah, man.
We did some celebrating.
It looked like y'all had a good time.
We had a great time, man. I wrangled the Rugrats all weekend. So he had a blowout rager party at main event. They bowled and laser tagged and video gamed, ate cake. And
wild, man. That sounds like a blast.
Yeah, it was a good time. Jackson said that was the best party ever. I'm like, mission accomplished.
I bet you slept good Saturday night, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Or Sunday. Yeah, was it Saturday night or Sunday?
No, his party was Sunday night.
Sunday,
he had a buddy that had a party Saturday. So we birthdayed, partied Saturday for one of his buddies, and then Sunday was his party. So two full days of kids going nuts.
Yep. That's
it. Man. Pain in the ass, but it's a blessing. I mean, I wouldn't change it.
Man, looks like we're getting a crowd to start coming in, guys. Guys, y'all get your questions ready. Let us know what you want to talk about tonight. We're excited, man. Let's talk some fishing. Let's talk some techniques. Whatever y'all want to talk about.
I got a trip Friday with Leland Loy, guide here in Texas. He's going to be coming on the War Machine. He's bringing one of his buddies who's got some health issues. We're going to go put those boys on some East Texas lake monsters, baby.
Oh, man. Can't wait to see some pictures, man.
We got south wind. I told him if y'all can be flexible, we can pick a south wind day. We're going to light them up, boys. So I expect to do well. It's we got 15-mile-an-hour wind out of the southeast with a little bit of rain on the way. So should be good. It better be.
Oh, man.
So let's run through here and see all who's in here. We got Chris Garcia. It says, hell yes. We got Eagle Eyes, Juan Tienda, our Operation Vets with Nets and soon to be Carolina Lightweights teammate. We're bringing Juan and the Ethanator on. What's up, Juan? He said, let's get this party started, Slime family.
That's it.
We got Bending Tips Catfishing, Patrick Gilliland, been working too hard to fish. It's time to do some big cat fishing, bro. West Texas Cat Addict. That's what I'm talking about. Chris Garcia says he canceled it. I'm not sure what that means, but we're on, bro. We're on. Walt McCorkle, welcome in. Walt, another one of our Operation Vets with Nets brothers. Paul Story says, what's up, everyone? What's up, Paul? How you doing, buddy? Rebecca's in the house.
Oh,
where you hiding Rebecca at?
She's up in the house where it's warmer.
Shitty Fisherman says, what's going on, Slime fam? Hope everyone is great.
It's that time of year. It's a good time. It's a good time to be a fisherman, a cat fisherman. Dustin Clark says wired up. Yep, them boys were wired up. They were freaking bouncing off the wall, boy. Once they had that cake, I tried to take a picture, man. That many, it's 15 of them. It's not easy.
That cake didn't stand a chance to get it.
Jason says that's that good luck hat. I've had some guys say this is their good luck hat. They've been catching some giants wearing this hat. So Jason Shitty Fisherman says $10. Appreciate you, bro.
Heck yeah, brother.
Bess Cook says, sup, Slimers. Bess just celebrated his 49th birthday. He's a young buck. Happy birthday, Vess. Hope you got some fish, buddy. Hope you got on some fish. Ben and Tip says this weekend it's on. 4-digit fishing. What's up, everyone? Leland says he's ready to give him hell Friday. We're going to give him hell, buddy. I did a seal job on my tilt and trim.
Mm-hmm.
And after I did it, I was nervous because one of the kits was an aftermarket kit. I put it all together, and that thing wouldn't do nothing. And I'm like, oh, shit. But I turned that bleed screw and bled a little bit of air out, and then it was good. So,
oh, heck yeah, bro.
Because ain't no way I could get parts here before the trip. I'm like, did I just screw myself doing this damn sealed kit job? I got nervous real quick. Beth said he was sideways with big socks.
Man.
John Lowe says, cheers. Cheers, buddy. 'Tis the season. John had a hell of a trip. I saw your trip. You smoked them, bro. I think you're out on Fort Phantom, if I'm not mistaken. But Levon, I've been all the way from 37 feet up to about 10 feet. The fish have really been moving a lot. I'm not really sure where they'll be. I think they'll be mid-depth. I know they went shallow after the rain. I had a buddy that fished the day of the rain, and he tried to go looking where I'd been, and they weren't there. And I talked to another guy who'd hammered them up in 10 feet. So I think this cold front probably pushed them back out, and that's my hunch. I'd be willing to bet they're back out in mid-depth. Gordon David Phillips says, sup, everyone. Welcome in, bro.
What's up, brother?
Clark says, sugar rush. Ain't that the truth, buddy? That sugar's crack on that age of kid.
Chris, I want to say something real fast, man. I don't know if you've seen it, but I seen it the other day. I want to say thank you to everyone in our chat that understands what we're doing here at the Slime Show, talking about catfishing, talking about top-notch, trophy catfishing. I want to say thank you to all you guys that nominated the Slime Show for the Golden Whisker stuff. Just say, guys, that's why we're doing it, because of y'all, man. But we're doing it because trophy catfishing, because this is what we love and this is what it's supposed to be about. So I want to say thank you guys for doing it.
I think it's awesome having all these badass anglers with us.
Yeah.
You won't go on another show and see these kind of guys. You'll see a bunch of, I won't dog them, but y'all know.
That's it, guys.
Y'all know the company we keep. This right here is hardcore catfish anglers. So
that's right.
I'll tell Jackson you said happy birthday. I appreciate that, buddy. Man, he got a huge, big outreach for his birthday from all of our fishing buddies and Slime family, Carolina Lake Weights people. Appreciate everybody, man. I felt that. So Richard Green says 32 feet on Livingston, 20 and 30 pounders. Heck yeah, buddy. That's where we've been, 20 to 30 feet last 3 trips. Before that, we were in 35. Actually, last trip, I went from 25 up to 12. Caught them the whole way.
Chris, we got one over on Facebook side. I didn't know if you saw it. Wanting to talk about showing them the Stinger rig.
Y'all want to see the Stinger rig? I can go pull one out of the boat. It's that time of year, boys. Go big or go home, baby.
Well, guys, while Chris is going to get that Stinger rig, I want to say, while we got this opportunity to say thank you. We dropped the Big Kitty teaser rig last Wednesday night right here on the Slime Show. That thing has sold out. We are working on the 4th time now, guys. We got some back up on the website. They're back in stock. But guys, appreciate y'all. We love you for what you're doing. So if you haven't tried them, guys, there they are right here. The Big Kitty teaser rigs, the game changer. They are back in stock. But while Chris is doing that, guys, if y'all have any questions for tonight that you have any questions about anything with catfishing, depth finders, baits, depths, anything tonight, ask away, guys.
All right.
Let me go back right here and make sure, see if we see anything.
Be right back. Give me 1 second.
Be right back. All right, brother. But yeah, guys, we're gonna have fun tonight, man. So we're doing a Q&A. So any questions, we're gonna try to get to each and every one of them. If I miss you, say, hey, man, you missed my question. Get back with us. We'll try to get them answered for sure. I know we had a cold front to come through a little while ago. We've had 45 to 40-mile-an-hour winds today. We had some rain, and we just had a cold front to hit us. The temperatures are falling like a rock, so the fishing ought to start picking up around here on the Santee Cooper this weekend for sure. I know right now we're not able to fish right now. We're getting ready for the push towards the shows. Pennsylvania, PA, the Greater American Outdoor Show will be Carolina Lakewaite's first show of the year. So if you're in the PA, guys, come up there to the Great American Outdoor Show and say hello to us. Can't wait to see everybody up there.
When is that?
That is Rebecca. Are you still in chat? I'll have to get her to post the date, Chris. It's the end of January, I believe. It's going to be a 9-day show. So it's going to be a long show. They're expecting close to 250,000 to come through the doors within those 9 days.
Holy crap. That's insane.
Have we been hunting? Oh, no, we haven't had a chance to go hunting anymore. We're probably not going to be able to, Richard. The rest of the time now, we're getting ready for these shows, so we barely have time to breathe right now. So we wide open. I wish we could get a chance to go, but we might try to sneak one more in. I don't know yet. And then
Stinger rig. This is going to be for giant baits. This is a brute. Then I go from the brute. It's got on a slider. Jamie, y'all got a 5-inch big rattle too.
Yeah. Yep.
So I run multiple rattles, but for my really big ones, I'm sponsored by Demon Dragon, so this is their brute. This will float a giant bait. It's on a slider. It slides up and down. I want to change depth. From there, it goes to my hook. This is a 10-aught Action Jackson hook. That's going to be snelled on. From the hook, from this is the front hook. This goes in the nose. Let me put it on a bigger screen so y'all can see. Then it's got about 9 inches of line, and then it's snelled. So this back is a traditional snell. This rattle right here just kind of helps it float the bait where it's floating like this rather than like this. And then this front hook gets the simple no-knot snell. So that's it. I would say simple but effective, but it's not simple, but it's highly effective.
Heck yeah, man. That's a nice rig, brother.
That's our go-to rig for fish over 30. You can still catch, hell, we catch teeners on it, but it's really for big baits like this. Put the stinger in put the front hook in the nose, put the back stinger. The back stinger is crucial the way you hook these so you don't lose fish. This stinger hook, you want this stinger hook almost sticking out the ass end of your bait like that. So if it spins around, it's not foul hooking into your bait.
Chris, how do you feel mono versus braid?
I run mono. I like to run mono when I'm dragging. For one, if you get hung up and you're running braid, it's a freaking nightmare. Two, you're getting tangled a lot when you're dragging planer boards. Big fish swim into other stuff. If y'all have ever had 3 or 4 rods with braid all tangled together, you might as well just cut it and start over. Where mono, I can untangle mono 95% of the time. We spend a lot of time every trip untangling crap. And when I've gone on my buddy's boat who are really good anglers and they're running braid, it's a freaking nightmare. It's cut, retie. I don't like having to retie. So I just prefer it. I prefer mono if I'm dragging. I got rods. A lot of these rods back here are braid. I use them for anchor fishing. I got 2 full sets of rods. So that's my preference. I think it's preference. I know a lot of guys do it with braid. It's not for me.
Chris, I'm like you, man. I've always been mono myself. I've tried to braid out. Has some tangles, like you said, man. It's a lot easier to untangle mono than it is braid when that fish runs into your other lines and stuff like that. And like you said, man, if you do get hung up, it is the devil. It makes you cuss for sure. But I'm a mono.
Mark Vidal says he was looking for that stinger rig. I guess that's the Mark. Yeah. I'll send you a diagram. Probably going to be easier than me showing it on camera. but you get the gist of it. I've got some videos on my YouTube channel showing how I tie them. It's been a work in progress. I've been running that rig for about 10 or 12 years, but it's refined. I refine my rigs a little bit each year. It's an, you know, the rigs are evolving a little bit each year. I just put that back rattle in the middle to help float the ass into that bait up a little more, so it's riding more like this rather than like that, just to help with a more natural presentation. Chris, you said you wish they'd go shallow on Texoma. I saw guys catching them up by the mouth of the Red River after that rain, so I know they went shallow after that rain. I saw some guys hammering big fish up there. I don't think they would stay up there very long. You're usually about 3 days after a rain where they'll stay up in those areas, and then they move back to their normal places. So,
and
Chris says, "Hey, what's up? What's up, bro?"
And Chris, I run only 30-pound mono on my main line, but everything here at Carolina Lake Weights is 80-pound leader.
That's what I run. I run 30-pound mono. I run 80-pound leader. I crimp my my swivel onto my leader. And all my connections are Palomar knots. My hooks are all snell knot. If I'm stinger rigging, the stinger hook is a traditional snell, and the front hook's a simple snell.
Yeah. Pretty much that, about like what you got right there.
Yep.
Double hook rig.
I tie them that way too. I've got some where I put that there's the top on there. Chris Garcia says there's 60 plus over here on Texoma. Yeah, I've got my buddies are out in 75 right now on Texoma. So Texoma fish is different than all our other fisheries. They're always much deeper there. Every other lake, I'm betting they're probably going to be in 15 to 30 feet this weekend.
Chris, the 30-pound mono, actually we've caught some huge fish with 30-pound mono. We caught 60s, 70s, all the way up to almost the 80s with the 30-pound mono and never had problems. Chris, how about you? You using the same thing too, right? The 30-pound?
I can tow my boat with 30.
Yeah.
If you're breaking fish off with 30-pound mono, you're doing something wrong. You're either keeping the line on too long. Even with a drag lockdown, you're not going to break it.
Yeah. You will catch hell.
You catch giants on 30. Now I do. The reason I lighten up my drag when I get a big fish close to the boat is not because I'm worried about the line breaking. It's because if you got a shallow hooked fish, skin hooked, whisker hooked, if it's a hook point that's in the the tooth patch and it's not buried, that's when you're going to lose a fish. A light drag will allow them to pull and do all that rather than just rip that thing out of a shallow hook set or a skin hook or a whisker hook. So your drag does the work when they get close to the boat. But my drag's real tight until I get them 15 feet from the boat. And then I adjust it. Never have a problem with my mono breaking. If it broke, it's because you left it on the damn reel for too long. It's not fresh.
And one thing, Chris, I will tell everybody, I will refresh, my mono on my reels after so many trips to make sure, because it takes just one little nick or something like
Here,
that.
it's more about the sun damage.
Yeah.
UV light messes them up. But you can tell because they lose the color. When it starts losing that color, it's pretty much time to change line. The other thing you need to do is if it gets into other lines, and you got two fish on and one's going that way and the other one's going that way, that's when you're going to mess your line up a lot of the times. And you do need to check your leaders for nicks. Abrasion's not an issue with 80-pound leader, but nicks are. So when you're sending your baits, big baits long, or you're sending your baits out long, that hook is doing this, and it can twist back around and nick your leader. And so every time I catch a big fish, I always check to make sure there's not a big nick. Even with a nick, you'll catch fish under 50, no problem. But you get one over, that's when that nick is going to rear its nasty head, and you'll lose your best fish. So.
And Chris, I want to say, I see a lot of fishermen making the simple mistake that a lot of people don't think about. When you're driving down the highway, you got your pole standing straight up, guys. I myself, if I'm going to do that,
I learned the hard way out doing that.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, either that or make sure you
that
put your
wind on 70 like that, your shit will break off right there where that eye is, where that line was bent around that eye and hooked back through your hook keeper.
That's it.
Right there where that eye is, it just weakens it enough right there where when you catch a big fish, ding, he's done.
A lot of fishermen don't think that, man. But guys, I'm telling you, if you leave your rods up going down the highway,
don't do it.
Don't
put them in the bottom of the boat, or that's what I do. I can't stand losing big fish to my error.
And
it happens. I mean, but you do it a few times, and it's like, all right, I learned that the hard way.
And if you are going to do it, put your covers back over the rods. At least that way it don't spin and all that is bad. But Chris is right. Lay them things down, guys.
Michael Levy, what's up, bro? I'm just getting caught up.
That's what I'm trying to do. Mine was locked up here, and I tried to figure out, I guess it might be the wind outside.
Jeff P. says he's going Friday. Gordon David Phillips, new member. Justin Cox, what's up, bro?
Chris, how deep should John? Did you see the one from Johnny there? How deep should he be fishing Louisville right now?
Johnny, 20 feet. My buddy just nailed a 61 today. $20 feet's been the magic depth on Louisville last week. So let me get caught up here. 205 wild action. Rock on, dudes. Walt says he's fishing the rest of the week. You're going to have some sore hands if you're on them, buddy. That's a good problem to have. I go huge on baits all winter. Only time I will downsize is if we start getting water temps that are like 38 or below, which just doesn't happen a whole lot here. It does, but not a lot. I mean, I can go into why they like big baits. I know why. Big fish like big baits because when the water gets cold, game fish group up into large groups and they get lethargic. They won't even hardly move. They're almost like in hibernation mode. Blue cats, they slow down, but they can move. They can still swim around. They can still feed. And so big baits are easy for them, and all they got to do is just swim up there and grab one. So when the water gets below 38, we usually get a big shad kill, and that's when I'll downsize to small little baits. But until then, I go massive, man. And Now that our water's getting into the low 50s, I won't even put a small bait on. I'm going to have giant baits on all 10 rods. I'll say that I might have 1 or 2 rods with, a small, what I call small, a small bait like that. Just for the hell of it, just straight down the middle, I put those on. And those typically catch our smallest fish. 95% of the trips. The big fish almost exclusively hit our very biggest bait will catch our very biggest fish. Whole giant freaking baits. Anybody who's fished with me can tell you I freaking go big this time of year.
Well, Chris, you talking about big baits. What's your Walt was wondering, what's your bait a choice for the wintertime right now?
Anything big. Whatever you can get big in your net, use it. If it's legal, or not. If you don't mind, you use whatever the hell you want. I don't care what you use. Go big. Fish want size. A big fish, there's something about big baits they like this time of year. They're really big fish are often going for an easy bait. Easy meal rather than having to go work for a bunch of smaller ones. So that they're actually keying in on a certain size because it's like, okay, that one's injured. I'm just going to eat it because it's easy. And Jeff Martin says, howdy, y'all. Ask Jeff. He knows I throw ridiculously big baits where it's like you sling it out there and it goes like 10 feet. Kaplunk, cannonball. And you'll still catch small fish on them. It's not, I do it to outsize fish under 20 because I'm just not interested in those fish. But we'll still catch a few teeners throughout the day on those.
Chris was wondering, so when you drift, is there any way to control where you want to go or forced to let the wind push you? I tried fishing a ledge and couldn't. The wind was too strong and kept pushing me across it.
All right. So if the wind's really strong, you're pretty much at the mercy of the wind. The good thing about the wind is it's often fish are on the flats. You don't have to be so specific in high wind. You can get, if you see fish on a ledge, more than likely they're on the flat right next to it as well. So just line up and go. Try to line up so that you can hit some features. If that ledge is moving out or the channel moves close, try to line up so you can hit a few of those features. But if you've got lighter wind, I hit things with precision. I'm lining up on that freaking ledge. If there's no wind, I am locked on to whatever I'm trying to hit. If you got very light to no wind, you can go into the wind, pull with your trolling motor. If you got about 10 miles an hour or over, I always go with the wind because the fish will orient into the wind. Guys are like, what are you doing over there? I'm like, they'll see me turn, like it'll be a light wind. And then all of a sudden the wind starts picking up and they're like, what are you doing over there? I'm like, well, the fish just all decided they're ready to orient into the wind. I'm going to go turn around. I'm going to go with the wind because your catch rate will go through the roof if you're presenting your bait the way the fish want it coming to them. So,
and Chris, how did you come to that conclusion to when to know to go ahead and pick up and make that change?
Just, over time, I fished both ways. I would go this way, and in being lazy, I would, after I drift with the wind, I'd turn around and go against the wind.
Yeah.
And on that same run, catch 2 fish where I just had caught 12. And, over time, I'm like, I pick up when I'm done and I motor way out around your run. Don't motor right back over your run. Get out away from your run and go back and maybe move over 75 yards. Or, if they're really biting and you've been on a 2-hour drift, by the time you go move back and throw back down, there's
There's
whole
fish
other
already.
fish that
Yeah.
are feeding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of them that weren't feeding when you first went over might be turned on now. So
And-
I'll run over the exact same line 2 or 3
And
times.
Chris, a lot of people doesn't look at that, man. Well, they think once you go over a certain line, 3 hours later, there's fish already moved back on that line, guys.
Those
Don't be
fish that were
afraid to
eating
go.
3 hours before. A lot of them already ate, and some other ones are now deciding they're ready to eat. So,
Yeah, don't be afraid to go back over that area, guys.
Chris says he only crimps the swivel. That's the way I do it. I only crimp the swivel.
Yeah.
Everything else is Palomar knots or snell. Obviously, you got to snell the hook.
Yeah.
205 says cool. Gordon Dayton Phillips says school is in session. Get your notepad, boys.
Chris, West Texas, do you dial back on your speed on your graph when you drifting to not stretch them marks out as much? So do you dial back on your graph as far as the speed, Chris? Adjust it?
The speed will always be adjusted. Your graph speed needs to match the speed of the boat. It is a constant adjustment. If you're graphing fast at 5, your graph needs to be set at 5. If you're slowing down to really get good marks on, like, let's say there's fish on structure, but you're really looking for something worth throwing down on, you got to slow down to really get a good mark on big fish, and you'll go 3. So dial it down to 3. But once you stop and throw down and drag, you're going 0.5. So you set your graph speed at 1. Just be mindful that when you set your graph speed at 1, but you're going 0.5, your marks are actually going to be twice as big as the fish actually is. So, if that makes sense, the algorithm in the graph is going to change as you dial that speed up, and that's what's going to do it. It's the distance between your pings. That thing's putting out a ping. As it's doing 5 pings, it's putting out 5 times as many pings as it is set on 1, and that switches the algorithm in your graph to determine how big to make that mark.
And Chris, I see a lot of people ask this question. Chris was asking. So when you're going over the area, man, you're marking lots of fish, but yet when you turn around and you start to make your drift, it's like the fish is gone. What would you be able to tell them to help them out as far as the graph and stuff like that? Chris was kind of like not understanding.
So here's the deal. If you motor over the same area you plan on going to fish, the best fish are gone. The small fish will be there. The big fish will move. They do not like the big motor. They leave. And now how far do they leave? Far enough to where when you immediately go back over them, it might be 20 minutes before you get a bite. That's because that big motor freaks them out and they leave. And so when you're graphing, don't graph exactly over what you're thinking about fishing. Move off of it. Your graph will reach out 100 feet on each. I mean, depending on how you got it set up, you can reach out 100 feet. So if you're looking on a ledge, don't run the ledge. Get off of the ledge and scan the ledge. And that way, when you start marking fish, you're not spooking all the best fish. You go back around, get off of them when you fire it up and turn back around and then set up on them. That way you're going over, your best fish aren't spooked, because I guarantee you go over a fish over about 30 pounds with the big motor, he moves. Yeah. And one that's over 50, he moves a long way. He gets out of there, man.
Now, Chris, do you do that also? Practice that I know in shallow water,
especially in shallow water. My buddies are like, how do you know if there's even fish there? I'm like, well, I just marked that one and I marked that one. I can guarantee you those aren't the only 2. And I go hundreds of yards off of them.
And that's also including in deeper water too, Chris?
In deeper water, I won't go quite as far, but, I'll go a couple 150 feet off of my run. I'll circle way around and then go over them.
Yeah.
It'll make a huge difference on your best fish if you do that.
Yeah, a lot of people, that's just little things to pay attention to, guys. That means a lot. And like you were talking, especially in shallower water, it makes the world a difference. Good questions, guys. Appreciate y'all asking them. I'm trying to see if I missed anybody, guys. If I have.
I'm getting caught up. I always get behind. My boy Mike McClung, King of Lake Worth, says, "How's it going, guys? Finally getting back on the lake tomorrow. Lake Worth's about to feel the heat." Mike McClung's about to put it on him. Jeff Martin says Chris uses whole chickens this time of year. Jeff, this time of year I go with whole turkey. Mystery bait, says Gordon David Phillips.
Chris, you fishing with whole turkeys. I'm going with the ham. I'm going with that old salted ham.
Trent Hall says, "What's up, fellas? What did I miss?" We just gave away a boat, Trent.
Oh, man.
Killer B says, "Listening while he's editing." Hopefully, I know you did well. Bill, he hardly doesn't have a bad trip. My boy Killer B. We need to get Bill back on the boat. We make a good team. Chris says he proved himself wrong drifting or against the wind. Was in a honey hole and smoked them. Wind, and then turned around and couldn't catch them.
It happens.
Typical, but if it's light wind, fish don't really care. You'll see them on the graph. Okay, when you're seeing them on the graph and the fish are all oriented like this, it doesn't matter what direction you go. But if you're on the graph and you see every fish in the lake pointing into the wind, it's obvious which way you need to be going. You can still catch them going against the wind, but your catch rate will dramatically go down if you're going into the wind. The only thing that might be different is if you're like on a piece of structure, like a ledge or something, and you're going super slow down that ledge. Now that might not make much of a difference, but even then I like to go with the wind. When they all orient into the wind, it's time to go with the wind.
What's up, Randall? Welcome in, buddy.
Let me get caught up. Got behind again.
Gordon Phillips with that $2 coming in, Chris.
Appreciate you, bro.
Man, I'm blessed to have a friend like Jackson.
Oh, man. I'm blessed to have him on the boat. That's the luckiest little freaky dude. Man, he is so lucky. Thank God he's my fishing partner. Anybody that's fished with me, I'm like, it's going to be a slow day. And they're like, but we got Jackson. I mean, he's always good for a couple big fish.
Yep.
He usually is. Yep, Chris, I'm getting caught up, so I'm seeing your deal here. Yes, you're probably scaring fish with the big motor. Even in deep water, they don't like it. They'll move. Let me burn through here and get caught up. I don't like things coming out of the freezer, Jason, so that's me. Do I descale my bait? Always. Always. And the reason being is because when you send that thing long, that thing's doing this and it hits the water and that hook will hit a scale And I've had way too many big fish come unbuttoned, and there's a scale. I missed a few scales, or there's a scale in the hook. So I'm pretty detailed about removing those scales, because if you get a scale in the hook point, it will not bury into a fish. You will.
Chris, I see a lot of fishermen get in a hurry, man. That's one of the things that's easy to overlook. They get in a hurry, and next thing you know, man, they're missing a fish just for that one little scale on the tip of that hook.
Yeah, a lot of the things with being good at catching these big fish is minimizing all the things that makes you lose them, because you don't lose these fish a lot of the times when they're smaller. You'll catch a lot of these fish. Now, maybe not with the scale on there, but there's a lot of things that rear their head when a big one comes on. So being diligent about all those things. I know if you're not used to catching them, and then when you do get one and you lose it, it's painful to lose big fish.
And it's always a self-inflicted that we do it to ourselves a lot of times, just trying to get in that hurry, and just easy to forget about, guys.
Trent says he'll push them around in shallow water, watch for them to stop, and then he hits them in the head. That'll piss them off. I've actually caught fish like that where I've hit them and it made them mad, and they smashed that thing and took off running.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty good feeling when you cast it and it starts taking off right, before it even hits the bottom. But that's not typical. When I'm up shallow, I get off of the fish. When I start seeing them move, I know they're there. I'll circle around and get into my position where or I'll slow troll up in there with my trolling motor.
Yeah.
And even then it'll push fish out of the way. But I like to get off of the fish that I'm about to fish. Don't like to go over them. Getting caught up. I see Gordon's $2. Appreciate you, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Pay for some shipping that I ship somebody some free gear. Moving on down. Gordon, $5.
Oh.
Hell yeah.
Chris, what's up? I believe, let's see here. Randall, Trinity was asking, off the wall, what's y'all's go-to for the camera? That's something I've got to work on. Is I've got to get me some more GoPros. I got to upgrade my cameras.
Yeah, GoPros are freaking beating. I wish that Apple would come out with phone technology, because the iPhone is so freaking easy to use. The camera is top notch. The battery doesn't go dead in 30 minutes like a freaking GoPro. I mean, what the hell? Why can't Apple just make a cell phone, but a camera that, action camera for the boat?
That's what I'm talking about. Actually, everything you see us do, guys, is off of my iPhone. 100% off the iPhone.
I do a lot on my iPhone. I do some on the, if I know I'm going to be shooting, I've kind of gotten away from doing the videos because it's a pain in the ass to deal with. And, but if I am going to do one, I do bring the GoPro and I shoot video and I do it off my phone. So a lot of the action stuff is on the GoPro, but then a lot of the B-roll of just the picture, the video of the birds flying, or all that's done on the phone. And hell, it's better camera quality than that damn GoPro.
And plus, I'm not trying to find that remote control or trying to get it to turn on, however it is now.
Yeah, the problem is the battery. It dies. Every time something good's happening. And then you're fumbling with batteries. I'm like, am I out here to freaking video or out here to catch big fish? I'm out here, I'm out here to catch big fish. Now, if I'm going up somewhere, I do try to make a point to do a little bit of make some videos. So you have to be cognizant the whole time of I'm making a video today, and I got to get this footage, and I got to do all this, talk to the camera and all that. Just kind of a beating, really, doing YouTube stuff. And really, I do the videos. I started doing the videos just so I'd have a recording for me and my son of all our cool, so we could go back and look at it and all that. But really, what I use YouTube for now is to do the slime show. I mean, that's what it's grown into for me.
Chris, I just saw a question. I went back and was looking through chat. Chat was flying through.
Chris Garcia says he noticed he really catches them on points. Well, points is ambush structure.
Yeah.
Points are always good. Most of the year, points are going to be good. Ledges with wind blowing on them, bends in the channel, Ys in the channel, humps, intersecting secondary creeks, intersecting the main river channel. Those are all similar type deals where big fish like to orient. They like to visit to ambush prey. There are also some of them are like holding, like not necessarily a point, but like Ys in the channel. Those are like holding areas for fish when they want to transition to different parts of the lake. They use those channels to move up and down the fishery. So,
Chris, also
at that Y, and they can say, all right, if the wind changes, I can run up that way. If the wind's blowing that way, I can run up that way. So that's why they like them, I believe.
Oh, yeah. All them little different highways come together right there off that point and stuff, too, Leland was asking Chris, what's your go-to size swivel with 80-pound leader?
Swivel, I run a Roscoe number 2, or a 2-aught Roscoe made in the USA swivel. It's 175 class swivel. I've never broken one. I've broken a lot of the Chinese ones, but I've never broken one of those ever. And I've been using them since I was probably 19 years old. And I'm sure there's plenty of other ones that would work just fine, but those, to me, they've always been good to me. So when something was really working for me, it's hard for me to get away from it. Roscoe swivels, to me, are the best swivels in the industry. So I use Roscoe swivels on all my stuff.
Now, Chris was also asking, so if you're in 5 foot of water or less, do you drift it?
Oh, hell yeah.
I was about to say, man.
Those 280s we caught in April, we're in 5 foot of water.
Yeah.
Jackson's junior state record, 80. It come out of 4 foot of water. We'll drift. It's difficult to drift in 2 foot of water, but what I'll do is I'll get out in a little bit deeper water and put boards up into that. It's very productive. When they're up there, it's a lot of fun because your boards are taking off like rockets. Fish are running when they grab it. You can do it. Now, for the longest time, guys said, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I did it. I'll say, hell, you can. I've been doing it.
Yeah.
And it's been freaking very highly productive.
Now, Chris, with the drift socks, is there any advice you can give these guys if they're trying to use their drift socks in that?
Got to use a smaller drift sock. You can't really drift super shallow with a big drift sock because it'll just dig into the mud.
Yeah,
it'll get hung up on stumps. You got to use a smaller sock. I use a small sock and I use the trolling motor a lot to either slow me down or point me in the direction I want.
Yeah, I was going to say, guys, be careful with the some of the Easterns, they have the little white rope on them where you pull that. If you're not paying attention, that's going to be floating down in the water. It gets hung up around stumps. Trust you, me, guys. Oh, man, all kinds of things can happen up in that shallow water.
You know you're shallow when your drift sock's hanging up on stumps.
Oh, man's coming in with the $20, Chris.
Oh, man.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, Jackson's going to be eating good snacks on the boat this weekend. Appreciate you guys. 4-Digit Fishing says he grew up on Lake Worth but wasn't into catfishing back then. Makes me want to go make a trip back down that way. 4-Digit, that freaking lake's chock full of good fish. It's got that consumption ban because of the PCBs. And that's a good lake right there, proof of what just a tiny little shallow water lake can produce a ton of good fish out of it when you turn them loose. If that consumption ban wasn't on that lake, there wouldn't be a damn fish left in it. But having to turn them loose, man, it's chock full of good fish. Now, not a whole lot of giants, but tons of fish up to 50 pounds. It's a great lake. Always your personal best when you lose them. There's something to that, Chris, that they grow bigger after they've gone back down to the bottom, don't they? But there's also this really, really big fish. There's always something a little different to them than the ones you're used to catching. They do that figure 8 roll in the net, turn around and go. If you've got nicks in the line, they'll break off. If it's not hooked real good, they'll rip the hook right out when you get them right there at the net. Jackson had a giant on 2 trips ago, and it was on a stinger rig, and the back stinger hung into the net, and the fish was flopping around, and it somehow unhooked himself and swam out. And, it was a heartbreaker, but luckily, 10 minutes later, we caught another giant, and he got that one in. So
that's it. Chris, let's take a second and talk about drift socks. I've seen talking about some good drift socks. A lot of people, depending on the size of your boats, guys, you want to match your drift sock up to the size of your boat a lot of times. If you're in a bigger boat, you're trying to go with a smaller drift sock, just know you might have to use 2 of them, but it's better to go and up in the size of your drift sock to match the size of your boat. So it will work a lot better that way. Chris, I know you have, 2 or 3 different size drift socks you like using?
Okay, so you're going to want to be able to go, depending on what you're doing. If you got no wind, I still put out a sock just because it helps maintain your course, keeps you straight when you're pulling with the trolling motor. Also, it helps keep the boat straight if you catch a big fish. If you're fighting it at the back of the boat and it starts swimming off to the side, it'll pull a boat around, help you keep you straight that way. But also, when you start getting into bigger winds, you want to be able to go the proper speed.
Yeah,
speed is paramount when dragging. Some days they want it at 0.4. Some days they want it at 0.5. Some days they want it at 0.6. Being able to get to that speed could make or break you. And on a big wind day, most guys like Jason, he fished next to me last week. Man, he was just hauling ass down the lake. I don't think they caught a fish. They were going too fast. We were going slower, and we hammered. So you need to be able to slow down to go anywhere from, 0.3 up to, 0.8, 0.9. So depending on your boat, if you got a small boat, you can start out with smaller socks, but you also need a bigger sock to slow you down on big wind days. So yeah, I've got 54s, my small sock. I got a giant boat. A 54 is when there's barely any wind for me. And then I go up to a 78 for when I got about 10 mile an hour wind or over. And I go up to 278s if it's 15 to 20. And then if it's up close to 30, I got a 10-foot Easterland. And that can slow me down to 0.5 on any circuit, any given day. I can go 0.5 if I need to go 0.5. If I need to go a little faster, I hit the trolling motor and pull me a little bit faster.
Yeah.
I need to go a little bit slower, I pointed it around backwards, and I use that to slow me down a little bit. So,
and guys, I will tell you, I've got a 24 foot ProCat 240. That Eastern I've had now probably going on about 6 years. I've had that same drift sock from Eastern Drift Socks. It has been it works wonders, and for the price of it, I know you were asking about a good drift sock that won't break the bank. Myself, I highly recommend that Eastern Drift Sock also.
if you want one that won't break the bank, there's one on Amazon called a Lindy Fisherman Blue. It's a 54-inch sock. It's like $30. They're great socks, man. They got a weight in them when you throw them. Most socks that are real rigid like that one, when you throw it, they don't open up very good. But this one's got a weight. You throw it, the weight sinks, it opens up. Other than that, the socks I use are the old black Cabela 78s, and you can't buy them anymore. I bought a whole case of them. I constantly have guys say, "Man, I need one of those Cabela socks. Can you sell me one?" I'm like, "No," because the new ones from Bass Pro are not the same. They're like a heavy canvas, and the ones that are from Cabela's are like a parachute, man. They freaking open up and they slow you down.
Yeah, I see Chris said he just bought one from Bass Pro Shop, the 78 inchers.
High quality, but they don't open up real good. They're real rigid. I've got one. I don't use it. I still run I bought a case of 10 Cabela's when Cabela's got bought out by Bass Pro, and Four Digit Fishing says he uses power banks to power his GoPros. I do the same thing, but man, it's still, even then, it seems like GoPros constantly have problems. A lot of problems. I do like that feature that's recording at all times, but it's when you hit record, it goes back 30 seconds. So you got the footage of whatever just happened. Hindsight feature. That's a pretty cool feature. Y'all got me wanting to video. Maybe I'll shoot a video this weekend. I got guys on the boat Friday. Might make for a good video. I expect us to hammer them, so it'll be good. Trent Williams, do you ever mash baits to soften them heads? I don't, but I've got guide buddies that say they'll use these big baits all day. And then, a lot of guys say they put fresh bait. I don't. I mean, I run the same bait all day and freaking hammer them. But they'll say, yeah, after it gets hammered a bunch, I'll pull the bait in and I'll put it in the bottom of the boat and stomp on it, and just to get the juices flowing. I could see that being helpful, but really big baits, the fish I think they sense the vibration. They just come right up to it, see it, eat it.
Yeah, Chris. I'm actually, I've heard you talk about the drift paddles. I'm actually interested. I know those were, I've seen those a lot on boats here lately. People have started going that route. I know it started, a lot of people in the bass fishing industries using those.
Yeah,
but it's been
Brent swears by them, and he's got a pretty good sized boat. I don't know if it'd slow me down enough, but I guess I could put out a sock on a big wind day. I know I'd probably anchor a lot more in the spring if I had, if I had shallow water anchors on the boat. It's just,
I know it's a lot more people up north is using those, and I hear a lot of talk about them. And now I'm actually starting to see them, further down in our area. I've seen just one or two boats on the Santee Cooper, using them and stuff. Been very interested in looking at a set of those for sure.
James, if I'm control drifting, I use a 54-inch Lindy Blue Fisherman. That's the smallest sock I use on my boat. That's for that'd be a big sock for most boats. I got a giant heavy bay boat with a T-top. It's it's got to have a pretty big sock to slow me down. So I run the 54 on no wind days when I'm using the trolling motor to pull me, or if it's like 5 mile an hour wind and I'm just trying to keep the back of the boat straight, but I'm using my trolling motor to drag me around.
Yeah, Trey, I was actually going to ask. I know to see how they would do in the river to keeping their boat from all this sway and stuff, and I imagine they would work real well in that.
That's what
current.
guys use. They'll use
Yeah.
they'll use a smaller sock just straight out the back. You can use a 36. A lot of guys will use a little 36. Any of those little socks you can buy at Academy probably be what you'd want for the river.
Yeah, and I wonder how the paddles would also definitely probably work in that current. Chris, I'm gonna tell you, man, for a long time I used a 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah, that's what guys used to use as a bucket. They didn't have drift socks.
Yeah,
years ago, man. I mean, they might have had a drift, what was called a drift anchor, but I don't think guys actually used it for drifting. I mean, guys were using tarps and stuff. When I first started drifting, guys were using tarps and buckets.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. Not too long ago, I was using a bucket, man. I mean, I've got to get a smaller drift sock for just the river, but yep, we still use a bucket from time to time.
Leland, I still run a weight on my shallow water rigs, and you probably don't have to. I mean, you could probably just run a hook off the back. I know a lot of guys will do that. I typically run a lighter weight when I'm dragging shallow, and I'm almost suspended. I don't long line from my board when I'm dragging shallow. I shorten up the distance between my rig and my planer board so that it's basically just like pulling stuff through the water. That way, if you're long lining, you're going to get hung up in shallow water because there's so many tree limbs and roots and stuff to get hung up on when you're up shallow.
Chris, a 22-foot boat, what size drift sock would you recommend for a 22-foot boat?
Probably 54s. And for a windy day, I'd get a 78.
Yeah.
You're going to want to be able to slow down on a big windy day because those are great days to fish. A lot of guys, I'm typically going slower than all the boats around me. Not always, but a lot of the times I'm going slow and everybody else is blowing by me. They're like, at the end of the day, they're like, I don't understand. I was like, you were going too fast. You went blowing by me. I mean, we hammered them. There's more to it than just being there in the right spot. It's presentation. If you're not catching them, slow down. If you're going slow and you're not catching them, speed up.
Walt, I appreciate that, buddy. Yeah, we definitely tried them Carolina Lake weights, man. Thank you for that, brother. Carolina Lake weights making it happen. Chris, you've already answered Chris's question on how do you set your boards in deep water, long line in and let it sink, then attach it. Have you?
Yeah, spin them long. You're going to want in deep water, you want about a 45-degree angle back. So you're basically going to be putting out twice as much line as the depth you're in. General rule of thumb. And mid depths, I actually go long. I go longer. I got quite a bit of line out, but deep water I don't because the line has a lot of drag in the water, and if you're in, they won't pull right. If you got a ton of line out in deep water, you'll actually need a lot heavier weight.
Yeah.
Keep it pinned to the bottom. I would prefer to have the lightest weight possible to keep my bait on the bottom. I know a lot of guys run heavy weights, but I lose a lot more stuff. Every time I go up an ounce in weight, you're increasing your chance of hanging up and losing stuff.
And I want also, Chris, I know just something I was wanting to hit on. When these guys are wanting to pin their baits to the bottom with these heavier weights, one thing, guys, when you're doing that, you're not also you're pinning your baits to the bottom, but your bait, you're not getting that more of a natural look to your bait. You got that thing just sucked down to the bottom. You need to let that thing come up a little bit, let it have that little wiggle more to it. You know, give it some room to move and get that reaction bite too. So, I mean, and when you're coming over that logs and them stumps and stuff, guys, you know, kind of bounce that thing over like a slow bounce, you know, to come over it. You just don't want it to just come over it and just like, bam, on the other side. Let that thing just kind of float over that thing, and you'll get a lot more bites by getting that reaction bite.
Man, we've been having some really good trips. All different conditions, big wind, no wind, variable wind. They just been biting good, you know. Certain days I'll think, man, I probably shouldn't even be out here, and I'll go out there and they'll be fired up. Usually not right when I throw down, but you know, it's been a later bite. But it's been pretty good fishing every trip. I think the water temperature's finally cooled down, and the fish are fired up. They're feeding up. They're starting to feed real heavy.
Yeah,
they're feeding longer.
Chris, the ones that haven't been maybe doing this a long time, how can you help them on picking the size of their weights? What's going to be something you can help them when they're like, okay, how do I know when I need a 2 ounce? How do I know when I do need a 3 ounce or a 4 ounce?
I'm typically using a 2 ounce and 40 foot or less, sometimes even 50 foot or less. And if you're out in 50 foot and you got real big waves, a lot of wind, and you're planer boarding, what'll happen is the wind catches your line and blows your planer boards where they won't pull correctly. So having a heavier weight will tack that thing down, and it'll pull backwards on your board, and it'll make that board correct in bigger wind. You won't be able to get the spread, but you'll get but they will pull correctly. So you actually will get a better spread with a heavier weight on those types of days. So big wind, big waves, go a little bit heavier on your weight if you're deeper. Even sometimes, you know, even mid depths, you'll have to put on a 3 ounce or I don't generally put a 4 ounce on, but 3 ounce is what I use in heavy wind. But most of the year I'm using 2 ounce, and that's lake fishing. No, rivers, that's Jamie'd have to tell you on that. But in the lake, 2 ounce is ideal.
Yeah.
And that's what I run. Been running 2 ounce for forever. 25 years I've been dragging with 2 ounce.
Yeah, and just like we were talking about, you know, a lot of times on the rivers, guys, I've seen some rivers where I'm running 10 ounce. The river weights, 10 ounce river weights that, you know, they're basically just the same thing as the dragon weight, but they're 10 ounce and they're built the same. I've seen some rivers where I'm running 4 ounce. Depending on how fast your current is. I mean, you don't want to go overboard with it, but you don't also want your bait down there, you know, not holding to the bottom. So you want to put
on your 22-foot boat, Trinity, I would say get you a 54 Lindy off Amazon for $30. And that's going to probably be your main one. If you wanted to get 2 of those, get 2 of them. But then, you know, on a big wind day, I'd get like a 78. And every boat drag's different. Some of them have a shallow draft. If you got a shallow draft in a lighter boat, it's going to blow in the wind. You've got one thing you can do is fill your live wells up and buoy that thing down, and it'll slow you down as well. So put some water in your live wells. Sorry to cut you off there, Jamie.
Oh, you good, bro? I was trying to find. Let's see. I was going to show off a 10 compared to the 4s, but I believe they're on my boat. Nope, I've got one right here. Guys, right here is one of the 10 ounce right here. That, yeah, a lot of people I saw walk up on the James and different areas like that. That compared to the 4 ounce that's right here, guys. So it's pretty much almost the same length, the 4 and the 10 ounce.
Crappie guys drag chains in shallow water. Not very smart ones, I'll tell you that. That's how you get your ass in a sling.
Get yourself in trouble quick with that.
Here's the deal. In shallow water, if you're in the shallow water and you got big wind, let's say it's a big wind day, you're going to notice the waves are much shorter together. If you're out in big open, deep water, your waves are much farther apart. But once you get up into shallow water, they start coming in real close, and it's gets real dicey. And if you get hung up in something like that, yeah, you get swamped pretty quick. You need to be able to. One thing is, you do need to be able to cut those socks loose if there's some type of emergency situation. And you can't do that with a chain. Now, I guess you could if you tied a rope to the chain, but I wouldn't do that with a chain.
4-digit Fishing was asking, and I get this question a lot from our bank fishermen. Do you feel that they would get hung up less using a drifting weight compared to a regular style lead weight? Guys, I'm going to tell you, we have a lot of bank fishermen that has ordered our drifting weights to test that theory, and I can tell you, yes, you will not hang up half as bad using a drifting weight compared to this right here. Guys, when you throw this out, and you're looking like, okay, I'm throwing this out, and you throw it over a tree or limbs, this thing is going to bury down, and it's going to stick right down in that mud right behind that limb. And when you go to pull it, this thing is still wanting to drag that bottom, and you're going to get hung up. If you're throwing out a drifting weight, when you go to pull that thing in, what happens, say if this is the stump, this top lifts up and helps you come over, helps it lift right up over top of that stump, guys. And we've got bank fishermen that swears by using drifting weights now more than using the lead style sinkers. So it will definitely help you.
Yeah, when you're first buying them, guys are like, "Oh, well, I got to buy those." I'm like, "How many rigs do you lose?" I mean, you know, if you're in a snaggy spot, they're like, and then they go do it. They're like, "You're right, man. I mean, you pay up front, but you know, you save money in the long run."
Yeah. And I will tell you, man, the way lead is anymore too, Chris. I mean, it's getting neck to neck on that. Lead is going up big time. So I'm gonna tell you though, guys. I mean, these guys are saying they're losing a lot less rigs by switching over to the drifting weights. And I can tell you, I anchor fish a lot on the rivers and stuff, and I use our drifting weights just for anchor fishing a lot. So definitely give it a try.
I haven't run the alpha boards. I run Parks. Generally, one side's always going to pull better than the other. There's ways to fix that. Sometimes the wind blows them and makes them where they're not pulling correctly. You got to speed up to get the board to correct. Sometimes you just got to give it a couple of cranks to get the board to correct. And then a lot of times they will pull right once you do it. If you got them out too far in big wind and you got your line is bowed down and catching in the water, that can mess them up. So getting them, reeling the slack up where there's line straight to the board, and then getting them to pull where they're going to pull That'll get them to pull better. There's a lot of tricks to planer boarding, guys. When they come fishing on my boat, they're like, "Damn, I didn't realize all the things that you can do that help these boards."
Oh yeah,
we'll do a planer board show. We can do 2 hours on planer boards. I guarantee you. We did one last year. It was a great show. So we're due for another one of those.
Definitely have to hit that up, Chris.
Walt says he uses 4 ounce in current on the river, and I think a lot of guys use 4 all the way up to 10.
Yeah, it all depends. I know up on the Great PD River, guys, we got real good current. I'll go up to an 8 to 10 ounce on the Great PD River. Other rivers, I might only use a 3 or a 4 ounce on them.
Yeah, well, the guys on the James are the ones that got Jamie to design that 10 ounce.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now a lot of them up there are running that 10 ounce up there.
Well, yeah, Chris is actually the sliders. I've started using a lot more of the sliders. Yeah.
Yeah, we went into the sliders a couple shows ago. Y'all know why.
And when we're talking about the sliders too, guys, if you wasn't here for that, let me tell you, a lot of people has this misconception about the sizes and stuff. Be careful. If you go real big on these sliders, you will hang up because of the way some of these big sliders are. It don't hurt to go down to a smaller slider, and I guarantee you it'll help save you, on that also.
I actually go with this very smallest slider I can use. Yep. Smallest one on that I have found is the one that I prefer. And guys like, "Oh, you need this one because it's stronger." I'm like, you actually want that slider to be a weaker connection.
That's it. And if you break off that slider, guys, it's better than breaking off a whole rig. So I mean, it's working the way it's supposed to. Man, Chris, I hope you keeping up with it too, bro.
I'm back and forth, man. I'm back and forth on 3 different topics. I'm trying to.
Need to do the planer board show on the water.
Yeah. I need to do some live streaming. That's where guys really get to see what we do.
And Chris,
most guys don't really believe our fishing until they see it.
And Chris, a lot of boats, yours might do different than my boat. When I'm pulling boards, your boat it might have a tendency to pull your boards a little different than mine, but you can make up for that, like you were talking about, with different techniques about getting the boards to work the same on both sides by using a little bit different techniques.
Yes.
You'll pick up on that if you're dragging, if you're, all that, doing it enough, you'll pick up.
A lot of guys they can't stand that one side's not pulling as good, but I'll say, but look at this side, it's pulling twice as good. So put an extra board over here, one less over here. You still covering the exact same swath that you were if it was a perfect day and you're pulling great on both sides. To be successful at dragging in all conditions, it takes a lot of jockeying the boards, making them do what working them to make them do what you want them to do.
Yeah,
keeping them spread so that when you do catch one, you're not bringing in 4 different freaking boards.
Even when you get hooked up on a fish, knowing how to bring that fish in between all them boards
Yeah. I had a guy on the boat 2 trips ago, and he hung into a freaking giant, and the fish crossed everything, and then we had another one go down as it's crossed, and we had probably a 70 on and a 40 on. Well, he's like, "Well, what do I do?" I'm like, "Quit cranking," But it was too late. Before he could let the slack off of the line, they were sawing into each other, and we lost both fish. So, the other thing is when you've got all these different boards out, and you got big fish, and you got a big fish that takes it down, you got to be able to understand how to control the fish right out of the gate, get it turned into the right direction. And how to do that is usually you're walking to one side of the boat and you're just pulling the fish and you're cranking real hard to get the nose pointed in the direction that you need it to go. If it's swimming towards other things, you got to be Johnny on the spot.
Yeah.
I rarely get tangled, but I have my son on the boat. He can't control fish. When I have guests on the boat, it's a long day of untangling a big mess because
also,
they don't understand how to control a fish through the spread.
And Chris, I know you're like I am. You got in your memory when you're putting those boards out, guys, pay attention. Okay, you've got this much leadway you're working with. You know, when you're having to bring this line over this line, knowing, okay, I got to have it out this far so I don't get into this line. You know, when that's just tricks and stuff that you'll learn the more that you do it. Saying, okay, you know, there's not much room for error in between this board and this board. I know I'm pretty tight. If this fish starts coming this way, I've got maybe 5 foot or 10 foot. So even when you're putting your poles out, kind of keep up with how much you have out, knowing how much you got, you know, to play with also, so you can eliminate some of that.
Yeah, you're always going to have some hang-ups. That's just part of the planer boarding. But there's definitely a lot of ways to help minimize that. You just have to be cognizant of, as soon as that big fish gets on, you got to start paying attention which direction he's headed. And what you're going to have to do immediately is get on that fish and start controlling his head and try to get him to turn back through that gap in that spread. And now sometimes you can't. You hang on for the ride and they go wherever the hell they want to go.
Chris, I know I normally run 5 boards on each side.
I run 4 on each side. I run 4 sets, and then I run 2 long lines out the back. And a lot of times I got kicker rods with no boards on them. So it just really depends on the bite that day. If it's a no-win day, I probably got 12 rods out. If they're hitting it and running, I'm not putting 12 rods out because I'll spend more time untangling crap on a day like that.
And that's like me, Chris. I'm saying I normally run 5 on each side. Now, some tournaments and the weather, I might take down and go maybe 3 or 4 on each side and run the kicker rods out the back like we were talking. But I'll tell you too, guys, don't give up on taking 1 rod off the back side on each side of the boat and dropping it straight down.
Yeah, so I'll drop mine straight down, but what I actually do is mine aren't just straight down.
Yeah.
I kick mine back where they're about where I see my shortest board. My bait is at that shortest board.
Yeah.
So the shortest board, actually, its bait's weight behind it, but that kicker rod is about maybe 15, 20 feet behind the boat, just kind of bumping along.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. When you dropping those
days,
down,
man, those things get smoked. And actually, when you get one on them, boy, that's the funnest fish to catch out of all of them.
Actually, Chris, my last 2 trips, my 2 biggest fish for the last 2 trips have come off those off of those rods that's down, but out like you were talking about a little bit. My 2 biggest fish come off those rods.
Yeah, those are man. It's a great fight because the fish immediately knows what's going on when you get one.
Yeah, because when he hits that,
there's no stretching the line. I mean, when you got a long line and a board out, a lot of times they grab it, start doing all this stuff. They don't even know really
that they're even hooked.
Yeah,
but I'm like you. When they hit those, they know they're going to be hooked, and it's going to be right on. So get ready.
West Texas Cat Addict says it's a lot of work for sure, but it pays off. Yes. Planer boarding is controlled chaos. It's a symphony. When everything's going right with the symphony, it's a work of art. But when things are going wrong with the symphony, man, it is ugly. It is chaos. So
yeah,
it is a lot of work. Guys are like, damn, I don't know if I can do all that.
And the majority of
you start small and work your way up to what we're doing. I mean, it's not like you're just going to go out there and start running 4 planer boards on each side and 4 long lines, and that's a lot to keep up with. And you're more than likely you'll spend a lot of time hung up all day.
And a lot of my river guys, don't forget, guys, even if you're anchored, I still run planer boards when I'm anchored fishing in the river a lot of times, guys. I can take those things and walk them out by just sitting still. Just keep walking them outwards. So I'm gonna tell you, if you haven't tried planer boarding on the river, even anchored fishing, give it a try, guys. It works wonders. I'm telling you. And especially if you're using the drifting weights, anchored fishing, it's even better. You can walk those baits out from one side of the river to the other side of the river. No problem.
Well, it says 6 rods all day long, 4 boards total. And that's a lot of guys. That's all they want to mess with. I mean, I get it. It's like past couple of trips, we've had damn near every rod in the boat at least one time. I mean, it's just fish after fish, crazy. Can't hardly keep up with it all. For me, if I'm by myself, I can do it. But when I have guests on the boat, that's when I have the issues because of controlling the bigger fish. Like when we're really on good fish, keeping them under control with that much spread, man, if somebody can't do that, you're going to have a lot of hang up problems. Bringing in 2-3 boards at a time, and then you got to untangle them, and another rod's going down.
Especially if you ever by yourself, Chris.
2 of them on that are crossed, and you got to say, well, we got. Keep that fish away from the. Don't bring that freaking fish right up here and make this mess even worse. Let him do his thing back there, and let me untangle all this. Get that thing untangled while the fish are away from the boat, because if you bring that fish up close, all that tangled mess you almost have to cut it off sometimes.
And guys, I don't know if y'all might have seen the videos on our YouTube channel or our TikTok that we have. A lot of times you'll see me and Rebecca talking about dancing rods. We're taking them rods and we're taking them and switching them back. We're dancing. Anytime we get a big fish on, we're dancing them rods from one holder to the. You'll find, man, that's a lot of fun. The adrenaline's going. I mean,
that's another thing. When guys are like, I'm like, it becomes second nature when you do it all the time. But for someone that doesn't do it, they don't understand. They can't see out there. Okay, that one you need to get your rod high and go over that one. Then you need to go under this one. 3 that you could weave him through there and not have a problem. But for somebody who doesn't maybe do it all the time, they're just cranking, just reeling the damn thing in and just dragging everything in. It's
it's a lot of fun. Do you use them kicker lines out at the same distance, or one shorter and one long?
Actually, my kicker's short. So my kicker rods are always my 2 shortest lines. I long line the ones down the middle, and I always make those my smallest baits. For whatever reason, I put the heads on my kickers a lot. I don't know why. Maybe it's because that I've had luck doing that. But my kickers are always my shortest. They're only out about 20 yards.
And something about the kickers that a lot of people might not pay attention to, Chris, and we've hit up on it on the show. Guys, your kickers are going to be dancing a lot more because it's shorter. Yeah. When your longer lines,
every time there's a wave, that the bait on that kicker's doing this. It's almost like getting jigged. Yep. It's like you're jigging that thing with every wave. Whereas you got a long line out, you're taking a lot of that out. So certain days, a smooth presentation will catch all the fish. You won't catch a single fish on your kicker because they don't want that thing doing all of this. But on a certain day, that kickers, they like that thing getting jigged. It's like you're sitting there working that thing the whole time.
And I will tell you, my kickers, guys, when my kickers work the best, this is for me. On days where their lake is a lot more glassy, my kickers work a lot better. There's a lot, like Chris was saying, a lot more dancing, a lot more, them things are actually pulling at a different speed than some of my longer lines. So you got to look at that too, guys. So that them kickers will pay off on them glassy days for sure.
Yeah, I've only been running the kickers for almost, I guess this will be the 3rd year. And I just never thought, because planer boarding, the longest one, usually, longest board, 9 trips out of the 10, the longest board is going to catch the majority of your best fish. But on a slow day, I said, I got these extra rods. Hell, I'm going to put these kickers out. And I hammered them, dude.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I love to fight on them kicker rods more than I do the ones that's out, on the boards a lot of times.
When you see that kicker, it's usually out of the corner of your eye. That rod is just freaking hammered, dude, because it's generally a really big fish that hits that thing. I don't know why.
And that's like when y'all saw the video of Rebecca not too long ago catching that big flathead. That was actually on the kicker rod. And that thing, she barely got it out the rod holder. It was bent down. The rod tip and all was in the water. And it was everything she could to get that thing out. And that was on the kicker rod on the river.
Justin Cox says the side that don't pull as good is the lucky side in his boat most days. Here's something that I'll tell my friends when they're so worried about the spread. I say, quit worrying about the spread and worry about presentation and putting the freaking bait on the fish. And if you're so worried about spread, it's because you don't really have confidence in the area you're fishing. And you're just saying, I just need to cover water. Well, when I'm fishing an area, I know there's fish here. I'm not worried about my spread. I'm worried about the speed. I'm worried about the cut of the bait. The spread is one of the last things that I worry about. And we got a lot of guys like, you don't get a very good spread going with the wind. I'm like, yeah, but I catch 10 times as many fish as you. You're going against the wind. Why? Like, you'd rather have your board spread than present the bait in a natural manner to the fish and start hammering. I mean, come on, man. What are you here out here to do? Spread your boards or catch fish?
And Chris, what I found, and this is something that I call, I have what we call a ladder set out, where basically like you can walk from board to board. Now, my other side of the boat, I call it a Christmas tree. I have a way where I can set them up, and they're like in a Christmas tree style pattern. So I've learned different techniques to where different presentations with the boards on each side of the boat. So this side might have it where you can walk, do that long walk. This side, you might have two doing this right here. One, it's a Christmas tree setup. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I love messing with the boards.
I'm ready to go fishing.
Hell, me too, man. And I'm not going to be able to go until
I got a trip Friday with a couple of guides. So
it'll probably be March before I get to go back.
We're going to hammer them, dude. I'm going to put these boys on some giants.
But yeah, planer boarding is a lot of fun, guys.
Jason said, come get me. I'm ready. Well, I've got I'd say come with me Saturday, but I've got a Saturday trip with my son for his birthday. And it's just going to be me and him because he just does better when it's me and him rather than having guests on the boat. Now, if there's kids, he does great. But when it's two adults and him, he ain't. There's too much conversation between the adults, and he gets left out. So he ends up sitting at the front of the boat all day because he's not entertained. Whereas me and him can talk and joke around and do our thing when it's just me and him. So no offense, bro, but Saturday's birthday trip, he always catches a giant on his birthday. So birthday trip. So
he said he's in New Mexico until Tuesday.
well, maybe next weekend, hit me up and we go get on them. I plan on taking a day off probably every week from now through February. So I'm going to get an extra day of fishing in every week. I'll go on the weekend, but I'm going to go a day of the week too. So
Guys, I tell y'all, man, man, we've had some excellent questions come through.
Chris, I'd like to come back up to Texoma, but I've been doing so good on Levon. Let me show you the big fish for our last 3 trips, and I'll show you.
Let me switch over, see if we have anything on the Facebook side.
There's Jackson's 58. That was 3 trips ago. There's a 46 from 2 trips ago. That's his kid that came on the boat 2 trips ago. I think that one was a 48. There's Jackson's 46. That was last trip.
Dude, I love seeing these kiddos.
That was a 40, I think 42 or 43. That was last trip. And then 2 trips ago, I got a 61. So,
Chris, I love seeing all the kiddos.
You're putting 50s in the boat every trip. 25 over 20 with, I think, 2 40s of, a 50 and a 60. So
just looking at all the smiles, man, on them boys' face, man, that's you can't get that back, y'all. That's awesome.
That was a fun trip. That was those 2 boys' 14th birthday trip that I'm friends with their dad. And he's like, man, get these boys out on the water and catch something big. I'm like, yeah, let's go get them some PBs. So we fished our asses off, man. We hammered them. We got them a couple of PBs. So those are my favorite trips by far.
Yeah. I'd rather see the kiddos catch them than me any day, brother.
I caught 1 fish that day. It was, I think that trip I got one that was like, I don't know. I think it might have been the big fish of the day. It's like they let me catch 1 fish. At the end of the day, they're like, you got to catch 1, and it ended up being the biggest fish. So.
They were tired, man, catching all them fish.
They were tired. And I was tired from handing them to them, like I was cramping up. They were super cool little dudes and appreciative and made for a great trip. Jamie, you don't get to fish till March?
It's probably going to be close to March where I get to go back, man. We just got getting ready for these shows. The first one, like I said, is in PA. Can't wait to get up there. There's going to be tons and tons of people that come through the doors. That's going to be a big one. So we'll get back on. We got big flathead season in the summertime. Rebecca loves flathead season. So we're going to be doing a lot of fishing during the spring and summer. Then next winter, we'll be back out there and get back up on some big ones too. So we're going to get back out there. We staying busy. Carolina Lake Weeks is keeping us busy. We love it. We love taking care of our customers, taking care of everybody. So it's well worth it, to miss some fishing trips to make sure everybody else has a good fishing trip.
Ryan, my guide buddy, hammered him on Louisville last 3 days in a row. He's smoking them in 20 feet. He got a 61 today, or maybe it was yesterday. He was back on big fish again today. So 20 feet, man, if you're on Louisville.
Chris,
Fox says 1,000%, Jamie. His 67 last year come off the kicker in 3 foot of water.
There you go. Can't go wrong with it.
Go up there and grind, Justin, if you want a giant, because you won't catch a bunch of them up there, but That's your best chance of getting that freaking supersized fish, man. CatCon coming up. Who's going?
CLW be there.
Y'all know I'll be there. I'm bringing the tornado to wreck that joint.
And guys, if y'all haven't gone and looked at the new floor plan, go over and look at the new floor plan. CLW has grown the boot space up on the front row because y'all have been good to us. We needed more room this year, so we made the boot space is even bigger this year. So definitely come by and check us out. And Chris, I was saying while you were outside earlier, this rig that we released last Wednesday, right here, that rig has sold out 3 times since last Wednesday. Guys, we do have these back up on the website. Grab them while you can. They're going like crazy. The thing is what's so cool, you won't know what color skirt that you'll be getting. There's 2 rattles that you can pick from, but the skirt color is going to be a surprise. But don't worry about it. Each skirt color has caught fish. So it's been proven.
They work good. We've been hammering them on those rigs for a long time. Eagle Eyes says him and Ethanator first CatCon trip.
Man,
you better get him there, man. We got some awesome stuff in store for the kiddos. I got something I'd like. I haven't even opened it yet. I want to see it.
We're always full of surprises.
It's been sitting over there since it came in a month ago. Hopefully I didn't screw it up when I had it made. We got some cool stuff in store for our youth angler team, Carolina Lake Weights. We got a dream team of youth anglers that Carolina Lake Weights supports.
Yep.
Oh, man, it's crazy cool.
Well, it's going to be your first one at CatCon, man. I'm going to tell you, you're going to have a blast, my friend. Oh, look at her, man. Dog.
Flathead Luke, the Ethanator. Here, let me run through it. I can't see. Can y'all see that?
Yeah, right there, Chris. Right there.
The Ethanator. Flathead Luke. The Texas Tornado. JT Catfish Kid and the Cat Girl. The Youth Angler Dream Team, baby. The future is now.
That's what I'm talking about, guys. Man, if
got
that right
the
there
best
don't get
youth angler program in the world, guys. I will tell you right now, the kids we got on this youth angler team are unbelievable.
They are. Chris, I can't wait to show the other one. I can't do it right now because we're going to wait until CatCon for that one, man. Man, it's going to be awesome with them kiddos.
Yeah, I'm glad you're coming, Juan. It's going to be something special for these kids.
That is awesome, y'all. That's what we love, man. Carolina Lake Weights is all about family. It's about our kids. It's about getting them out there, getting them fishing, getting them off of video games, and letting them enjoy the outdoors. I can tell you the hotels and everything right now is booking quick, guys.
Oh, man. Just from 2 weeks ago, I'd say there's half the rooms there were 2 weeks ago. So I got a VRBO. I booked mine this morning. There's a few left.
Yeah, there's a Holiday Inn that's near the convention center. I think they're all sold out. I think, man,
Yeah, I
There's a
looked at
bunch of 'em.
hotel rooms because the people I was going with backed out again this year. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just get a hotel room. Then I went and looked at hotel rooms. I'm like, damn, that's a piece of crap. $170 a night for a piece of junk. Like, so I went VRBO'd it, got a nice, cool little house. End up being about $600. So I'm staying Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
I know we're having to leave out right after the show on Saturday night. So as soon as the show's over with, we're having to book. We're on baby watch. My oldest son is expecting my first granddaughter, so we're gonna have to get back here ASAP.
Justin, I'm gonna fish Lavon Friday with Leland Loy, one of our Operation Vets with Nets teammates. He's a guide in Central Texas. He's bringing one of his guys, and we're fishing Friday. And then I'm going to probably, depending on how well we do Friday, I'm going to go back Saturday and with my son. So we've been lighting that lake on fire the last 6 weeks. It's been crazy good to us. So I know they went shallow after this last rain, but I think they should be back mid-depth. We'll see. Jason says he'll sleep in the truck out front. He's hardcore. Whaley says he's leaving Saturday night as well.
Man, everybody got to see me walking barefooted.
Well, Chris, I've been putting in at Power Plant. It's, what's the name of that? Let me look at the park. I've been putting in at Power Plant. It's you can also put in at Ticky Creek. It's real close to where we fish, but Power Plant, you can get bait right there at the warm water discharge. Little Ridge Park. Little Ridge Park is by the Power Plant. That's where I've been putting in. But you can put in at Ticky if you're trying to go close. What makes them go shallow? The rain. The rain made them go shallow. So they ran up into that creek. They left that 25, 27, 25, 20-foot range. They moved up into the 10-foot range, and they went up into the timber. And my buddies that went up there said it was loaded, and they smoked them. But then we had the cold front hit yesterday. In my mind, the rain bites probably ended right about the time that the cold front hit to push them back out of the timber. Texoma is a lot different lake. It doesn't fish the same. It's a super deep lake. They stay around the striper. Striper don't like to run up into that dirty, muddy water. So you have to pretty much stay around the striper. I know guys are in 75 feet there doing well. So the deep ledges by Tabletop, the Y where the Red River and the Ouachita meet, all along in there. Bottom of those ledges, out on the flats, in the channel. That's where I'd be.
Yeah.
Shitty says he drove by mud checks for 7 years and slept in his truck.
Man. Well, I can tell you, waking up in the next morning, man, made me feel rough.
Fished Bridgeview last weekend and only caught one. I didn't fish last weekend. Some of my buddies fished, and some of them that stayed out in mid-depth did decent. I saw the best fish were caught shallow on most of the lakes. Now, Texoma's different, but most of the lakes, all the big fish that I saw being caught, the guys that were really on them were shallow, up in by the creek mouth or up in the creek mouth. So by the oil derricks. Yeah. I know they've been down. A lot of guys been down by tabletop, 75 feet. Texoma it's boom or bust on that lake. So I fished up there all October, and it was like I just didn't do well. I caught it like it'd be my day would be a 30, 220s, and 10 or 15 dinks, and I just could never go on it. I fished a lot of no wind days. I fished a lot of bad days. I just sucked. I was terrible. I just didn't do well. But November changed for me. I fished a lot of south winds on November, and I was on fish the whole time. Every trip, we smoked them. I'm back. I got my mojo back. I can't lose. Yeah, we're getting 50s every trip now. I expect that to get, as long as I got a decent day, I expect that to continue. It just gets better, really. From now through February, it just gets better and better. Whereas Texoma starts, the colder it gets, the worse that lake gets. I don't know why it fires up so much earlier and tapers off when it gets cold, but that's my experience. Jamie Dunn, anything else you want to promote, bro?
Well, matter of fact, I just want to say, guys, thank you for everybody for always supporting us here on the Slime Show, especially over at Carolina Lake Weights. We released some new T-shirts today. I don't know if everybody saw them on the Facebook. We got a few different colors, a few different styles. Guys, these are on the website for only $10.
Man, y'all are giving them away.
$10, guys.
That's crazy.
The fronts, this is the front. Like I said, we put them out today. I do know there's a lot of sizes already sold out. There's different logos that we put out. We also put out our Bad Duck wetland swag apparel today. That's new to Carolina Lake Weights. So we're going to start getting into that a little bit, so y'all can find some Bad Duck apparel, some cool stuff like that. So we also got the skull shirt. It's in the T-shirt. So guys, $10. If you haven't got them, go grab them. They're going fast.
That's a good deal right there, man.
Yep. You can't beat that anymore.
Chris, the bite usually slows down on Texoma in January. By February, it's real tough. Start seeing Daniel posting pics from Ray Roberts, he's not leaving that lake because he's tired of it. It's because that lake gets tough. And a lot of the guides, the trophy catfish guides, traditionally all used to leave that lake and go to Tawakoni, but Tawakoni's not the lake it used to be. So I know a lot of them are going now to Ray Roberts in January and February. And the reason is because that lake gets tough in those months. So right after the spawn, yes, that's terrible on every lake. During the spawn is really the worst part. Right after the spawn's not any better, really. Until you get cold rain hitting the lake, it's when it starts turning back on. So,
I can tell you,
Doesn't get any better. Yeah, I saw Juan's pictures with the drilling rigs in the back while he's dragging. That was pretty cool. Well, guys, I guess maybe next week we might do a planer board.
Sounds like a winner to me, Chris.
Hopefully I'll have a bunch of giants. Put these vets on some freaking tanks. Get Jackson a birthday fish or two. And get this December rolling. December is a good month for catfishing here in Texas. So I didn't get to fish last weekend. I'm going to make up some ground Friday and Saturday.
After tonight's show, Shine, I'm ready to go hook up and go myself, Chris.
Chris, my best month's always February. February is just lights out for us. It's our trips in February are close to 1,000 pounds every trip. Guys that have been following me know what we do in February. It's just off the chain, dude. We'll have a trip with 10 40s, 250s, and one right around 60. And that's pretty common for us in February. It's just that time of year when you got the right size bait, you're in the right area, the fishing is epic. So it's only about 2 weeks. The second half of February is a warm-up. Generally speaking, in Texas, the first 2 weeks is generally massive polar front with usually one or two polar fronts, and it piles the fish up where every big fish in the lake is just piled into a certain area. So I always look forward to February because it's just off the freaking chain good. But we've been having good trips right now, but just the fish size generally goes up in Texas for most of us. And, I would say the only lake that's different is probably Texoma. It's just, it kind of works its way backwards. Big fish earlier, and then they taper off as you get deeper into the winter, whereas most of our lakes in Texas, the closer you get to February, the bigger the fish size gets, the more of them you catch. And then about the second week in February, they start to move shallow, and you have to change everything and start moving shallow. And then they go shallow up until the end of April. We're pretty much shallow every trip. Not every trip. Sometimes they move out. If there's a front, they'll move back out to 30 feet. But generally speaking, starting about the second week in February, we start moving shallow. So. Yeehaw, baby. Boog says, great show as always. Appreciate you. Appreciate y'all. So, guys, anybody needs anything from me, give me a shout. Give me a holler. Anybody wants to go fishing, it's go time.
And, guys, same way for me. If y'all guys need anything from us here at Carolina Lake Wakes, definitely get with us. Let us know, and we'll get you hooked right up on anything you need.
Tight lines. God bless. Azul out.
Later, y'all.